Ladies and gentlemen, through a series of short-term developments, Bitcoin has managed to garner the strength to make a push towards 102,000 US dollars, which is a very, very critical short-term level. Now, what happens next here is very, very important. If Bitcoin rejects downwards, we could be in a little bit of trouble. If it breaks upwards, we're going pretty much straight to all-time highs. That's the simple reality. Now, I posted a video 16 hours ago just before this move upwards occurred, and I said the move upwards would occur. I very clearly outlined the strength in the charts in that video yesterday. Go give it a watch if you haven't already done so. And I outlined specifically that this level at 102,000 was the major breakout level for Bitcoin. In order for Bitcoin to be confirmed in a next move, to be bullish once again, not only in long term, but in medium term and short term, in order for you to wake up to your portfolio up 10, 20% again, like you were in October and November, Bitcoin needs to get over this level first. So it's a very, very important zone, and we'll do a deep dive into it today. Shouldn't take too long today, guys. Check out the Bitfinex exchange and the BitGet exchanges before we get into it. BitGet is a very popular exchange, top 5 in trading volume, very often, I mean, almost daily at this point. Very popular exchange, very well known. Not available to people in the US, but available globally other than the US. And then Bitfinex is available globally full stop. It's global non-KYC. So take your picks down below depending on your geographical location, but also depending on what you're looking for, okay? They're both very low in trading fees. They both have very good track records. And with my referral links down below, you can get a 15% trading fee discount attached to your account for life. It literally takes about 30 seconds to sign up to Bitfinex, guys. You don't even need to verify your identity. So use those links down below, get on a good exchange. Let's get into the content. Now, before we take a look at the short-term charts on Bitcoin, I quickly want to analyze the longer-term picture. For example, we know that Bitcoin has a critical support zone here, stemming backwards from the 2021 all-time highs, okay? The first all-time high at 64K and the second one at 69K. If we extend that line right across, we can see Bitcoin finding a very foundational support zone here, pretty much holding up the entire structure, which we've seen a resistance support flip on 3 separate weekly candle closes within this move. That is the support zone that Bitcoin is holding right now. If we lose that level, that's very, very bad news. Right now it's holding. Not only is it holding, it's holding with a vicious amount of strength, and now we're bouncing from it. So really good stuff here on the Bitcoin macro. I could bore you and I could go into the other things I've discussed in the last few days. For example, I'll just quickly do one of them. The S&P 500 retesting the bull market support band. Okay, the last time that occurred was back here on September 9th. On September 9th, that is the very day, guys, that Bitcoin found its bottom on this 8-month consolidation. Okay, so the last time this occurred, we found a bottom before blasting to all-time highs. It's happening again. If that history repeats, we blast to all-time highs. Another thing, just very quickly, is a fractal. Now, what is this yellow bar pattern right here? It's a fractal from last year. So we look at the Bitcoin structure right now. Just take a look at the chart. Look at the Bitcoin pattern that we've seen in the last 2 months and compare it to this pattern right here in late 2023, early 2024. If we take a fractal from that pattern in late 2023 to early 2024 and we overlay it right on top of Bitcoin, we can see ridiculous levels of similarities there. I mean, the similarities are just obscene. And if you line it up a bit, you can see it's just... It's beyond belief how similar it is. And of course, what happened after that fractal in 2023? Well, we blasted it to the upside and saw all-time highs. So there's another reason to be very bullish on Bitcoin. Another reason, if we just want to top it off, we may as well. I'm not going to go too deep into this though. I have a whole mathematical formula surrounding this that supports it and tells me the exact percentage of how much Bitcoin's going to go down. I've done that 3 videos in a row now. I won't bore you with it. But basically, Bitcoin moves cyclically. Bitcoin moves in a 4-year cycle. And therefore, we can reasonably extract data from prior cycles and move them forward to current cycles to try and get price predictions, okay? And that's exactly what we've done here. We have similarities between the last cycle and this cycle, specifically on this specific leg in green. So that leg there in green in 2021 is very similar to this leg that we're seeing right now, okay? And we know that because it took the same amount of days before we blasted off and saw that leg. It took 1,100 days from the prior all-time high to seeing that leg to the upside. Same thing this time. We know that as well because the Bitcoin dominance chart started dropping massively only when that leg began in 2021. Exact same thing right now. Altcoin season begun on the leg above all-time highs, and we can do various forms of analysis which we've done in the past to basically get a very rough guideline about how, well, actually quite a precise guideline about how far Bitcoin is meant to go down on this correction here, right? And basically it said anywhere between 90 and 91,000. We've gone to 91,000. Everything looks good so far. So now that all of that macro talk is out of the way, I mean, just through that very brief 2-minute analysis of the macro situation, I hope you can get a very good idea of the strength that Bitcoin is seeing here. I mean, the strength is very, I was going to say the strength is very strong. There's a very large degree of strength here. And it's not just related to medium term, okay? It's macro, but it's also short term now. And that's the big change we've seen in the last few days. Because in my view, this range on Bitcoin can be cut up, divided up into two separate sections. Section one is the grind to the upside, the slow, kind of painful grind, which is a representation of exhaustion, the buyers being exhausted, eventually leading to a collapse downwards and a correction. And then the second range is accumulation. So we have this grind to the upside, which is signified by bearishness. During that entire grind, I was saying we're going to go down soon. We went downwards, and now we've seen accumulation. During this period of time, I've been saying we're going to go up soon. Okay, and that's exactly what's happening here so far. However, don't get ahead of yourself too much yet. And I'm saying this even to remind myself not to. 102,000 to 103,000 is a very important level on Bitcoin. Why is it important? Well, it's important because 102,000, this red line on the screen right here, is the exact level, the breakdown level, that signified the end of this zone and the start of this zone. It's upon that level breaking down that we broke down below our plateau to all-time highs. Okay, we saw a resistance support flip, rejected back into a accumulation range, and therefore, that is the level we need to break. We've been saying this for weeks now, and it's been validated in the last 24 hours. It's been validated because upon rising up to that level, we've found it as resistance, and the fact that it's even resistance in the first place validates its validity as an important zone that we need to break, okay? Now, how did I manage to predict that we go upwards again? Well, there was a few things that happened that went unnoticed by a lot of analysts, but I noticed it, and I discussed it for two or three days in a row on this YouTube channel. A couple of momentum shifts here on the 4-hourly chart specifically, obviously on other time frames too, but I'm just going to use the 4-hourly chart as an example. We have a breakout of this yellow line right here, and that wouldn't be much on its own, but the fact that it happened with a breakout, right, in sync with a breakout on the 4-hourly chart RSI resistance line as well, that represented a very big shift in momentum. In my view, we broke this kind of horizontal channel range. We went to the upside. 102,000 to 103,000 was destined, was programmed from that point forward. Not only did we break out, guys, but we broke out with a resistance support flip on the price chart and on the RSI. You don't see this very often unless you're going upwards. But it wasn't just that. It was also the 50 simple moving average, which is a very, very important zone on Bitcoin, very, very important moving average on Bitcoin. I'll circle a few levels where it's acted as a concise support and resistance zone over the last year, just over and over again, finding bottoms, finding tops in this level. We actually broke down below that level a couple of weeks ago. It led to a bit of a scare. I did analyze it, but I said the breakdown wasn't valid due to other factors, like Bitcoin, for example, still being on this support zone, stepping backwards from 2021. I'm glad I had that foresight because a lot of people didn't. A lot of people flipped bearish there. I think it was an unjustifiable zone to flip bearish, but it certainly wasn't bullish. And we actually found that as resistance, and now we're back on top of it. We flipped it for support. That's great news. Exact same thing has happened with the 50 simple moving average. So the 50 SMA and the 50 simple moving average. So we've got, again, a level that's acted. You can just look at the chart for yourself as resistance and support on multiple occasions in the last year on Bitcoin. Acting as support very clearly on 3 separate retests throughout late December. We broke below it very briefly, but again, it wasn't a valid breakdown, and now we're back above it. And if we actually zoom into the shorter term charts, and we take those exact same lines, still the daily chart SMAs, still the 50 and still the 50 EMA, right, in blue and red here, we can see that they're not only acting as support and resistance on long term, they're acting on short term as well. And you can see very clearly a fake out right here, but still pretty much holding. And you can see in the 50, breaking below it, resistance on a couple of occasions. Now we flip back above it. We saw a retest before the breakout. We're in the clear here, guys. I mean, this is very, very good stuff. The final step for Bitcoin, and I mean this truly, the actual final step, and I've said this the whole way through, for Bitcoin, before we can, jump fully on the bullish bandwagon once more, for us to actually get out of this consolidative period, is to break around 103,000. It's very difficult to say exactly where. Could be up to 103.5, could be down to 102. Somewhere in this pink box is the only real level of resistance left before Bitcoin is back in effectively price discovery. This is the zone right now. So pay attention to it. And right now, everything looks quite good, right? All the macro looks good. Medium term starting to look great. Short term looks pretty great. We've just got that one level left. We can't really do any ultra short term analysis. I haven't had enough, not enough development in the price here. I can't really predict what's going to happen in the next day. I just don't have enough data. But what I can say is that everything's certainly looking good here. Now, with that said, It's not over yet. It could flip bad. And the way it could flip bad is if we get a strong rejection here. We get a strong rejection and we start breaking below these levels. We start breaking below the 50 again. We start breaking below the 50 EMA. We start breaking below the recent lows here at 91K. We start breaking below, for example, this big level from 2021. That's when we start getting in really dodgy territory. And that's when we can really start to consider some of the bearish scenarios. But right now, these charts are showing nothing but strength. It's just not fully over yet. The battle is not won yet for the bulls, but we're getting very, very close. This is very much the final hurdle on Bitcoin before we can start that next move. So a big, fat fingers crossed for Bitcoin, and I'll keep you updated on the situation, guys. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Specifically comment, helps me out in the algorithm quite a lot. And specifically, check out the exchanges, not only for my sake, but for your sake. God damn it, guys, you're trusting these exchanges with your money. You're paying them fees, okay? Every single day, every single time you take a trade, you're paying someone fees on these exchanges. You want to be on a good exchange. You want to be on an exchange that's going to keep your money safe, that actually deserves your money and fees, and these ones are just that, okay? I use them both personally. Bitfinex I use personally. BitGet I've used extensively in the past. I've been talking about them for years on this YouTube channel. Global non-KYC on Bitfinex, global minus the USA on BitGet, takes 15 seconds to sign up with my referral links down below. Take your pick. 15 seconds to sign up and a 15% trading fee discount attached to your account for life on every single buy and sell you ever make. That's great stuff. Just with my link down below. The final thing I'll mention is my VIP group on Telegram. If you want to get altcoin trading signals, I post them on Telegram 4 times a week. We've got 3 years of trading data, fully transparent. You can check it out before you sign up. If you're interested, go ahead and do that. Thanks, guys. Have a good one.